How well do you think you understand graphic design terms and also the techniques? Follow along in today's video and test yourself to see how many of these 33 terms you fully understand, so you can then see where your knowledge might be lacking and what you need to work on.
With the way the design industry is going, learning how to create interactive designs is a no-brainer. Instead of putting flat files in front of your team, manager or client, imagine being able to hand them a design that looks so good it feels like a real website. Learn about Framer later in today's video. There's going to be 33 questions and each question has a 7-second timer. They're going to start pretty easy, but they do get more difficult. And on screen is some typography, but what kind of font is it? And I don't mean what font such as Crimson or Times New Roman, I mean what kind of font is it?
So we're starting pretty easy, and this is of course a serif font.
If the first one was a serif font, then what kind of font is seen on screen now? That is of course a sans serif font.
Okay, but then what about this attractive font here? Which category does this fall into? It's probably easy for most of us because it's of course a slab serif. But what is this kind of typography commonly referred to as? And this is an example of a script font, made to look like handwritten calligraphy. And lastly, in this first round of 5 possible points, what is this kind of typography called? And this might stump a few people, but this is an example of a monospace font, where each character occupies the same amount of space along the text. So that was the first 5 points, and let's move on to round number 2. So what is this color mode commonly known as?
It's the color mode that makes up the screen that you're viewing this video on right now.
Yep, it's RGB and it's used for the web and screen devices. But if that was RGB, then this of course must be Yep, this is CMYK or cyan, magenta, yellow, black, used for printing. Then what about this color mode right here? The right answer here is grayscale. When changing a design in this way, what are we adjusting exactly?
Something has been increased from left to right.
Here we are increasing the saturation. Now if pointing to a pure color on the color wheel, what do we call this thing right here?
No, I don't mean orange, I mean what is each individual color known as?
The answer here is hue. If we then go ahead and add only grey to a hue, what are we then making? We end up with a tone. But if we want to take a hue and add only white to it, do you know the name of that resulting colour? That is a tint. And finally guys, if we add only black to a hue, what is the final result there? In that instance, we finish with a shade. And so at the end of round 2, you have a score out of a possible 13 points. But to kick off round 3, what sort of balance is this right here?
Think in terms of graphic design principles.
And this of course is known as symmetrical balance. So if that was symmetrical balance, then what is this here?
Again, thinking in terms of balance.
Yeah, that is asymmetrical balance. I know, many people are probably screaming about how easy this is, But what do we call the use of pairing up serif fonts with sans serif fonts, or even using two opposing colours like yellow and black? That is the graphic design principle of contrast. So most of round 3 should be pretty easy, as we talk about this a lot on my channel. But when making sure elements are flush and in line, what principle are we using here? And yes, this is of course alignment. But if your design has the same style of typography used throughout, or maybe the same kind of shapes depicted everywhere, what is this known as? So yeah, the right answer here is of course repetition. Now what about this? One of my favourite principles to use. This is known as hierarchy. Now again, many people probably shouting this answer to themselves or even maybe their cat. But what about this? On this design, the arm is doing something specific. This is called flow, where the viewer's eye is directed along a design somewhere else. And finally, for round 3, what do we call the action of grouping design elements together that are linked in some kind of way? This is known as proximity. And so at the end of that round, there is a possible 21 points up for grabs. But let's head into round 4.
When talking about large areas of empty space on design, what is the name given to the empty space?
So yeah, this is macro white space. And if that is called macro white space, what do we call the area of gaps between lines of text or closely packed together objects? So yeah, logically this is micro white space. But what is the area within a design object that has something cut out, or where objects purposely leave specific kind of gaps in the middle? This is negative space, and it's something that many people confuse with white space. So that's round 4 finished, and we have a possible 24 points to play with. So what is the name of the action where you adjust the space between characters manually? This is something hugely important in logo design, and it's called kerning. But what about the space between each line of text that we can adjust easily in our design programs? What is that called? This is of course leading. And finally, for round 5, what is the automatic increase or decrease of space between characters performed in design programs? This is tracking. Round 5 complete, we now have 27 points in total. So here is some typography. It's Elron regular. But if you were to download just Elron regular, what would you be downloading? You would of course downloaded a font. However, if you were to talk about Elron regular, light, bold, and all of the other fonts in that family, what are they collectively known as? That's a typeface. And lastly, in this round, what is the name given to these different versions of regular, bold, light, etc.? These are of course font weights. Round 6 over, we now have a possible 30 points before heading into the last round. So when looking at a logo design, what is this section referred to as here? So this is commonly known as the logo mark or the logo symbol. And if that's a logo mark or the logo symbol, then what is this section of typography called? So yeah, we typically refer to this as the logo type. And lastly, for the 33rd point, what is this here below the logo type? Designers tend to call this the strapline or tagline, or at a more crude level, the slogan. Now, I'm sure that some of you found this test very easy, but it would be interesting to hear of your honest scores down below. We all need to learn this stuff at some point in our careers, and I myself only picked up a couple of these in the last few years.
So the sponsor of today's video is Framer. It's a no-code, free-to-use tool making it easy for anyone to get into interactive design. Their mission is to help you get closer to real. You can create your own smart components complete with multiple states, design clean layouts with easy-to-use layout tools, and of course build flows so realistic that your project feels like an actual website. In just a couple of hours, you can have a new skill that helps you stand out from the crowd. Now sign up to Framer for free at framer.com/Satori. That link is in the description box below.
But if you want to learn something else about graphic design, do click the video on screen, and until next time guys, design your future today. Peace.